Here we are, welcome back to the studio. Okay, so tonight I'm going to paint something that's kind of close to home. This is a picture of Cambria, California, the beautiful coastline here. This is just a quick picture of it. I'm going to paint it. I'm sorry, I'll have a black and white print out of that. But we see we have a couple of elements. We have some trees up the corner. We have a nice horizon line, some water, some beautiful rocky shoreline. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some darker color up here in the sky and let that kind of be a nice gradation right down. Let's see, I'm going to pick up a brush here. I'm going to go for a little of this not cobalt green, or green, cobalt blue. This is cerulean blue, that's what I'm trying to think of. Can make this nice and soupy and watery. And I'm actually going to spread a little water on here before we do anything. This way I'm just going to ensure, I'm just taking out a little insurance that that's going to spread out real nicely for us. There we go. Something like that. I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to dab it on up here. Much heavier at the top. Good. Straight across. And then I'm going to let it taper off to the horizon down here. And if you look at the sky, that's pretty much how it does it. If you look straight up, the sky is much more intense, much darker than it is if you look way off to the horizon. At the horizon, the color just almost disappears as you get out to it. So I think this is going to work out real nicely. I'm going to mix a little of my ultramarine blue in there just to pick up a few different colors. Okay, and really thin this down. I want to make sure this comes all the way down here. Good, that's good. I went just over here, that's okay. We'll go in and we'll just clean that up real quick. I'm going to let that dry just a little bit. Then we're going to come back and put our water line in there on that side. Actually, I'm going to gray these clouds down. Just now that I look at it, I think just a touch of gray in the sky up here is going to make this a lot better. There we go. I don't want that bright blue that cerulean sometimes gets to become. I want it a little gray. Maybe it's a little bit of an overcast day. It's just not quite as bright as it could be. There we go. Let's take that all the way down. There we go. That looks better. I think that's much better. I don't know if I mentioned it when I was learning to paint skies a few years ago. I was having a lot of trouble. All my skies were one color, and everybody kept commenting on my paintings. You need to spread out. You need to stretch your mind. Skies aren't one color. And I kept saying, well, what do I do to make it better? How do I find out, how to paint the sky, what a sky should look like? And everybody, universally, they said, go outside and look at the sky and paint what it looks like. And I went, that's what I'm doing now. We don't, it's one of the good things or bad things, depending on how you look at it, of living here. We don't have a whole lot of weather. Ours is mostly the same all year round. Nice blue skies, 70 degrees. It might get a little cooler in the winter. Maybe it gets up into 80 in the summer, but not too much and not too bad. Okay, so it's just still a little bit wet. I'm going to start blocking in some color on some of these rocks that are in here. I kind of want to just turn this off to the side so I can make it a little easier here. The rock that I'm painting right here in my picture actually has quite a bit of white in it. So I'm going to put on a little color and then dab a little color off. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, but that's kind of what I want to do to make it seem as though my shoreline running back here, I've got a highlight right there. So I'm going to try and fill in a couple of these rocks, and I'm hoping I can vary these colors just ever so slightly. They're all, actually I've got too big of a, swapped to get a little smaller, a bigger brush, and now I got too big of a brush. Let me get this little smaller one in here. Got a lot of paint on there. I can just pull that out. There we go. Like I said, the rocks down by the shore here really are lots of different colors all together. So whatever color we end up painting them here, in my picture, in my mind, these are the right colors. I want to paint this in kind of a jabby, I don't have a better way to describe it, kind of a little bit of a jabby motion. I want them to, even as the paint is going on, I want them to feel like a little bit of a ragged, jagged rock there. I know they've been worn down by the water and the sea, but it is a rocky coastline, and so I want to be able to portray that somewhat. Let's see, that's way out in the water, way back there. I'm going to lighten that color, just like we did with the sky. When the sky's further away at the horizon, I want to lighten the color of these rocks back here. I'm going to change my color just a little bit. Get the rocks right in front of there. Alright, there we're looking good. I think we're looking pretty good here. Put my towel back up there. Here we go. Just filling in this color. Just trying to change it ever so slightly each time I do something. Let me move this palette in the middle. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to get a little bit of a green tint on it now as I fill in some of this, because we're going to end up putting some greens in here. I guess one of the downsides of living in a place that doesn't have a lot of weather patterns, we don't get a lot of rain, of course, which means we don't have a lot of greens around here. Our greens are brown greens. And so we're not going to paint, or I'm not going to paint this picture with a lot of bright greens. I'm going to do a few kind of muted greens here. Something growing there. I don't know what that is. Looks pretty good though. Let's see. I've got kind of a, oh, that's too green. Let's go back to some of this and a little bit of this. Get my, there we go. Thin that out just a bit. That was too much. That's fine. That's perfect. Alright, what do I have left to fill in with my rocks? I want to fill in everything that hasn't been filled in yet. I don't want to take away quite all of that white that's there. Some of those are highlights that we're going to really use later. Let's see, I'm imagining that we've got a few extra. Here we go. Plants here, mostly green. I'm going to vary my green color. That's a lot of paint. There we go. That's not too bad. A little tint of red in there. When I put some ochre on behind it, it's going to look okay. There we go. And something a little more green back here, maybe growing on the edge of the water here. Let's thin that down just a bit. We don't want that to be too full, especially as we're just doing a first coat, a top coat. We want to let this kind of ride, and when we come back to put in some shadows, these will look a lot better. Okay, let's see. I've got a big field here. I can get a slightly larger brush. Might help me do this a little bit faster. All right. Let's see. A little bit more water in there. Good, something like that. And we're just going to push that right back out. Good, good, good. This is looking good. Right around the top of that. This is going to come down. Actually, I want to lighten that side. Will look just like it's getting pushed back behind there ever so slightly. I'm going to go with a little more ochre. Oops, I should be turning this back around. I can do it this way now. Now that I've got all the little pieces done, right into there. That looks good. That looks good. Alright, I've got one big piece here left to go. I'm going to mix my colors up. All we're doing is just trying to get variations here. That is a little hard to get from up here. There we go. I'm not going to worry if we go over the lines a little bit. That's okay. If it runs together a little bit, we're not going to worry about it. I'm going to get some of this. This will really gray this down, and I'll put it right in here. Nothing says we can't have a little gray in there. Perfect, and that's going to come up here. Good, now we've got to decide on a watercolor. Alright, so our water, we could say it's blue, but our water is not blue. We've got a little bit more blue out here on the horizon. I'm going to mix a color that's mostly ultramarine. But I'm going to put in a bit of the cerulean. Good, good, good. This is a good color. That's going to go out here at the horizon. As we come in, it's going to gray down, and then we're going to get some splashes of white in here at the bottom. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to start over here. Again, I'm sorry, I've got to turn this if I want to have any chance of making a straight line. There we go, and once I've got that line, I can pull that down. I'm gonna, as long as I don't let that dry, I'm all good, because I know we're going to be going back over top of that. Let's see if I can keep that line going. That's pretty good. Oh no! I just went up. Nothing worse than having a bump in your horizon out there. That would be terrible. Alright, right in between and around all these rocks. Hopefully, since I did those first, those will have dried just enough. So I gotta keep this a little bit wet down here. Keep that edge from drying out. I don't want a hard edge there. I'm kind of stalling because that's a little bit wet over here, and I'm just kind of waiting ever so slightly. I'm going to put this brush down, pick up my one that's just slightly smaller, got a little bit stiffer bristles on it. So I can get right behind. I guess I can lean in and probably do a pretty good job of fitting in that horizon. Maybe. Let's see, it should come up here, I think. Maybe I made it too tight. That looks better. It looked for a moment like it was the world was running off to the side there. Okay, so that's not too bad. Well, like I said, I'm going to gray this down a little bit. I can do that with a little bit of, there we go. I'm mixing my own gray, somewhat my own gray. It's got a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow in with that blue, and it makes a wonderful gray. If you've never mixed your own grays, or you're scared of mixing all your own grays, don't be. Grays are fun to mix. And with a little practice, you can get warm grays and cool grays and red grays and blue grays and green grays, any kind of gray you want. Basically, you can get in no time at all. Red and blue makes purple. Throw a little bit of yellow in there. That's a little too much. Probably need a little extra blue. Gray. Boom, there it is. You just do red and blue and you get purple. You do red and, you do blue and yellow, you get green. You do yellow and red and you get orange. You do all three, you get gray. Not exactly sure how that works, but it works every time. Let's see, and I'm being sure to paint along the line that I want my water to be on. I don't want to paint my water this way, because if I make any extra marks, I want them to be along the horizon line, like this. Could be a wave coming in here. I'm going to take my gray up there quite a bit. Maybe over here too, just a little bit over there. That's good. So now I've got a nice blue out there. Got one spot here that's a little bluer than I want. Alright, that's good. Actually, I could make it a stronger gray in here, or I could mix a bluer gray. I'm cheating to save time a little bit. I used Payne's gray. I'm going to make some big strokes here. Some big waves, maybe some big rollers coming in. There we go. I want to add a little horizontal detail to this, something going this way to make it look like it's got a lot more depth. And I'm probably going to have to come back and put a stronger gray in the foreground of this. Okay, so what I can do now, that seems pretty dry. I'm going to mix a little bit of this green color. Not too green, but a little greener than we had. And we've got these Monterey pines. And I'm actually going to do this backwards from what most people would do. I'm going to take a red and green, and that should give me a nice brown color. Okay. And I'm going to draw in a couple of trunks here. Something like this. And then some branches off of that. Right, and because I want to be able to define where my, what am I trying to say, where my leaves are, where my branches are, where my boughs are. I'm going to use, now our pines out here are really jaggedy, kind of a pokey, not a nice like a fir tree like you get at Christmas, but much more raggedy than that. And so I'm going to use my angle brush, and I'm going to put a bunch of those on, and you'll see how just layering these on is going to give us a lot of nice look here. And I can pull that back in towards the tree if I want a shorter branch, or I can push it out a little further if I want a bigger one. I can use half of this if I want to kind of dab it. I want to define what my tree kind of is going to look like here, just with this. And then I'm going to add in the center, just to fill in there. Still kind of just tapping it on, but where they all cross each other, I want to be much more filled. And let's see, they always seem to have a couple that are hanging down. Put a few of those in. Something like that. Let me see, maybe I should use a slightly smaller one. I know this looks a little foreign right now. When we come back and we put in a little bit of shadow on this, it's going to look a lot better. Let's see, I'm going to fill in a little bit of this, and I'm extending some of these boughs out. I don't want them all to be exactly the same length. If I bring this one down and out a little bit, it should help bring it into the foreground, push that horizon line back even further than it is. Alright, we're going to finish that up in a second. Okay, so, oops, that's not the one I want. What I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to use my liner. I'm going to come back, let's see, and get a brown gray here. I got a red, brown, gray. Use some ochre in there. Let's see there, I think that's pretty good right there. And I'm going to start putting in some definition on these rocks. Right? Some of them have a lot of craggly bits to them. Some of them are definitely in shadow around here. That's my highlight. I want to keep on that one. Some of them just have a water line on them. Maybe like that. I want to define that. I want to make sure I get that on a lot of these rocks. Because the background color is a little different, if we don't put this on too thick, we're going to get the benefit of a lot of that shadow, but not have to worry about some of the top color. It's got to be thin. It can't be too thick, but so we're just going to give the indication of some shadows in here. Right over here, some shadows that might be rocks. Something over here. This one here. There we go. That one's got a couple of colors in that one. Alright, I'm gonna use my same liner brush. I don't know why the liner brush seems like a thing I should use tonight, but it does for some reason. I'm gonna gray down a little green here. I'm going to put a little shadow on that bush. I'm going to keep my little red color. I'm moving this all over, aren't I? I'm going to give a little shadow to this bush. This one is a little redder for me. Oh, maybe not quite that red. There we go. We'll mix that. That'll be a little bit better. There we go. Some of that. These rocks back here in the background, our rocks are really striated for whatever reason. Whatever the geologic reason is, they always have a lot of lines on them. So I'm going to draw a number of lines on here. Whoops. We can do that just like this. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of dotting back here. This is a bush that's growing back here on the top. I just want to give it a little bit of texture. Not too much. Alright, I'm going to give a little bit of shadow to these trees. And let's see, how am I going to do that? I want a brownish shadow. That's not bad. That's a nice warm gray right there. So where do I want to put my shadows for these? Let's see. It's going to kind of come this way a little bit, I guess. So that's going to be on the top of these rocks. That might be a little bit too dark. There we go. I can take a lot of that off with the... I'll just keep dabbing my brush, making it a little drier. All of a sudden I've got a little bit of shadow on there. I'm going to put a little shadow on the... There we go. That should also, if I make a straight line there, that will also help determine the top of that cliff there. I'll make it look a little more flat on top. Let's see, get some more green on here. Give a little bit of color to this guy down here. Not too much, just enough to show that he's a plant, he's alive. He's got some highlight on him. There we go. That pulls him forward a little bit. In our picture, we're going to give him, put him a little bit darker on this side. Something like that. There we go. That's good. Could even draw a few sticks on him. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in the water from this rock, and I can use a nice gray, blue-gray on that one. Everybody will recognize that. Now it looks more 3D. I'm just going to put a little bit on these other ones. Something like that. I'm waiting for that to dry. I'm doing everything I can before that dries. Let's see. I'm going to put a little bit of, this is a white gouache. And I'm going to just make sure I've got a little highlight here, but I'm going to, right on my shoreline, just give a indication of some lines. Do the same thing back here. Maybe this is splashing up around these rocks ever so slightly. Something like that. Get some nice waves action out here. Not too far into the distance. I think I need to, what I should do while I'm waiting for that, if I haven't waited too long, is darken this up just a little bit. Let's see how we can do this. Just ever so slightly. Actually, this is going to work out because I can paint right around the white. And it's going to be like there's part of an incoming wave there. Soften the edge just a slight bit and let it blend out as far as we can that way. Alright, how are our trees doing? Our trees are pretty good here, so I'm going to go back to my liner brush for no other reason than it's nice, small brush. You can do some easy lines with that, and we're going to come in on this side. We should have more shadow. This side of our tree over here. This side on that side should be a little less because our light is kind of coming from there. So we're going to put shadow on that side. We've got to allow for the sun to come down. Come on. This is the worst thing about the liner brush is it really doesn't pick up much paint at all, so you sometimes do struggle with it a little bit. But when you do it, you can, when you use it, you can make really nice fine lines with it. You just need to get it loaded up with the proper amount of paint. There we go. We're getting a lot of texture on there now. Looking better. All right. Good, good. Let's see, just a little bit more up there. These trees are usually pretty dark. Alright, there we go. I don't think I'm going to do anything more with that. I might come in. I have a little tiny liner brush somewhere. Here it is. Use some of this green, and I'm going to put in just a few sticks in this bush here so we know that it is a bush. Something sticking out. I don't want them quite that far down. There we go. So we know that's a bush. It's got some stuff sticking out of it. There we go. I'm going to put in a few more detail lines up here. I'll put in just a few more lines on our cliff side just to add a little depth. We can keep adding little details to it. All that little depth of field is gonna come through when you look at it. Whoever looks at it, I hope a lot of people look at your art. They're all going to look at it and go, oh wow, that looks like there's so much going on there. Alright, and there it is. There's a little picture of Cambria, California. I'm going to re-put in my lines here, just along the shoreline. I just want it to look like there's movement and waves, something going on here. So I guess I wasn't quite done. I shouldn't say there it is. Okay, now there it is. There's our picture, Cambria, California. You got our trees overlooking this bluff, over a little bit of a rocky shoreline, and of course the Pacific Ocean. There it is. If you like it, please hit the thumbs up. I'd love for you to subscribe. I'd love to see you back here in the studio. Thanks for watching.